Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. As ever, you can find me over on Instagram at the House of Langford and at Overall Sews. I'm also on Ravelry at madxstitcher. And for anyone who's new here, hi! We reached over 300 subscribers recently, so that is brilliant. So keep liking and sharing. Yes, so for those of you who are new here, my name is Maddison, but you can call me Maddie. I am a teacher, a textiles teacher, and this is kind of like my little slice of the internet, slice of YouTube, so that I can share what I've got up to in terms of my crafting, my personal crafting. So whether it's knitting, crocheting, cross stitch, there's been a lot of cross stitch recently. I think mainly because of the whole lockdown thing in the UK last year. I wanted quick finishes, so I found lots of cross stitch projects that needed finishing, and it's kind of spiraled a bit more out of control. So on the channel I also do an unboxing video each month for the Crochet Society boxes, which you can see behind me. It's just something I do. I'm not endorsed or anything. So hi if you found me because of the boxes. I have some targets each month that I set myself at the end of the previous month, and shall we see what I've actually managed to do this month? So my targets on my notebook were to complete part 7 of the Sophie's Universe blanket, to start the Carousel blanket. I wanted to put some more hours into the Mighty Samurai, and then scroll up the frame so I can work on the top half of the pattern. I wanted to block and weave in the ends for the Briar Rose blanket, which was the 70s inspired one. And I wanted to work on my temperature blanket. Now, although August hasn't necessarily been as warm as it may have been in the past, especially compared to last year, I've still managed to do some blankets, but not necessarily the ones on my list. Because apparently August is the month that I start all the blankets and all the new things. So that's interesting. What I will say is I have not touched Sophie's Universe at all this month. I took it out with me, and I even put my embroidery scissors in the bag so that I could cut yarn if I needed to. But I haven't actually touched it. So it's still in the bag. It's not going to get finished before the end of this year, is it? I mean, come on. What I do. So also the Carousel blanket, I am gifting it to a friend who is having a baby soon. I have not only started it, but I finished it in 3 days. Yep. It may have ended up bigger, it may have finished bigger than it started, but it's done. So yeah, that's one thing off my list. I have not touched the Mighty Samurai at all. It has stayed there. I haven't even, I think I've moved it once, haven't put a stitch in it. So I now have 4 months till the end of the year. I think the plan was that I try and get it finished before the end of the year. Again, not really sure that's going to happen. I finished the 100 hours last month and haven't touched it since then. Technically that should only take me maybe 3 and a bit months to do another 100 hours on it. So I think it's definitely in need of 100 hours. Whether that includes, whether that means it will be finished for this year, I don't know. But I guess we'll find out. Next one, I wanted to block and weave in the ends of the Briar Rose blanket, so my 70s inspired blanket. I have done that. I showed it in last month's podcast that it was finished, and at the beginning of the month I did no, I blocked it, but I haven't woven the ends in. I've just had a look. Maybe I'll sit and do that tomorrow night. Not really a lot to do. Oh well. The last one was to work on the temperature blanket. Haven't touched it. It's really big, it's really heavy. Each row takes an age to do. It's Aran yarn, so it's very warm, even though it's cotton Aran. And the other blankets I've been working on have been lighter, so that's why I haven't worked on it. It's one of those projects where it really should have been done the year I started it, but there were issues. You'll have to go back quite a few episodes to find out what those issues were. But it's one of those things where I don't know if I'm not enjoying it. It's very easy to do, but yeah. So that I think is all admin. However, if you have seen Instagram, I have now started my very first make-along. I think I hinted at this when I made one this year. So this little pile right here is what I'm going to talk about next. So if you've seen, I think it was like February or March, may have even been January, I made a biscornu, which is one of these. And it is French. It means quirky, irregular. It's a pincushion. It's an ornamental tuft. It's a little pincushion, and it has 8 sides or 8 corners. So you only use 2 squares of cross-stitch pieces. You can do it with just plain fabric, so it doesn't need to be cross-stitched. You could do it with a granny square and stitch 2 granny squares together to make the same shape. I'm actually really tempted to make a giant one. And when I say giant, I mean giant one, like a big footstool size one. Not sure my husband's going to enjoy having that in the home. I already have 2 footstools. Like a giant cushion, really. And I think that would be really cool to do with like tapestry fabric and the tapestry yarns you can get. So for anyone who does tapestry, or even if you're a knitter or a crochet, you can use the yarn and do it that way. So that's another method of doing it. But yeah, so up until the end of the year, so up until the 31st of December, I am asking you to join me in making a biscornu. So this is the one I showed at the beginning of the year. It's all one colour on one colour fabric. So it's very easy to do. The pattern is very easy. I can't actually remember where it's from. I think it's the Urban Stitcher. I'll have to double check. But I thought I'd show you a couple of others that I've got. These are all gifts. So this one's very simple pattern again. I've had this one since 2008. This is from Rachel. I have this one, which is done in hardanger. So it's still on like an even weave fabric, but rather than doing cross stitches, you stitch over several stitches. And then you can get really elaborate ones where you have to make cuts into the fabric, which has always scared me. I then have, this one says Life's a Stitch. And I've had that one since 2011. And then the last one says, Have you caught the cross stitch bug? And there's no date on this one. So these are all from exchanges that I've done in the past with other cross stitch friends. So they can be as big or as small as you like. You are just using 2 squares. And actually it doesn't matter if the square is an even count or an odd count, because you can still work around it. So it's not too bad. So I am inviting you to join me in making a biscornu in the Biscornualong up until the end of the year. I have already put a couple of posts up on Instagram about it, and I started my version today. So I'm doing another one of the red and white that I've already shown you, but I'm doing it in blue fabric and white thread. And the fabric is actually smaller in count, so the squares are smaller than that one. So it's going to be a teeny bit fiddly to put together, but I don't mind, and I'm really looking forward to finishing that up. So I am joining you along this ride as well, and I hope you are going to enjoy joining me. I've spoken to a few people already, and they've already been looking for patterns or looking for materials and getting themselves prepped and ready to go. I started one this morning, as I've already said, and it's just going to be a nice way of bringing these back into the forefront of cross stitch. There was a big boom of making biscornus a little while back, and hence why I've got so many, but it's just been really nice to see them on Instagram. What I'm asking you to do is use the hashtag biscornualong. I'll put it either down the bottom here or in the description and on Instagram, and I might even pull some prizes. I don't know yet, we shall see. I've got quite a large stash of thread and fabric, so I might put together some little Biscornu kits. And I've even remembered that I actually designed 2 Biscornu patterns years ago when I think I was in university or college, so it's quite a while ago. And what I'm going to do is put the pattern up on Instagram so that you can just go and take it from there, really. They're very simple. It's literally, you can do it all in one colour. If you use a variegated thread, then you get all different colours, which is what I really like about using a monochrome type of format. So yeah, if you want to join in, head over to Instagram and tag me in your photos. I might have to do a finished hashtag as well for the finished ones. If you want to post in progress shots, then obviously you can use the biscornualong progress shot to post progress shots. It's my first make along. I don't really know what I'm doing. But come along on the ride with me. Right, so we are going straight into my finishes. I'm going to save my crochet until last because that brings me into whips quite nicely. So we're going to start with all the cross stitch, and I think it's quite safe to say this is more of a floss tube today than it is a knitting and crochet podcast, or sewing podcast. So yeah. So the first one that I finished was another of the Care Bears. I think I mentioned in my vlog that I'd done 2 last year, but I didn't. I did one early this year and one last year. So this time I have finished Sweet Dreams. So this is Dreamtime Bear. So I think it was quite a few months ago that I put up a poll basically to see which one I did next, and this one came out top on Instagram. So this is the one I have done. And actually, considering I only had his belly done with the blue of the moon, I didn't even have the star in there either. He took 4 days from start to finish. I think it's safe to say I've had a lot of time on my hands for August. He was really nice to work up. He's very easy to do as well. So most of it is whole stitches. There are a few fractional stitches, and actually I don't mind them. It just means that I have to try and work out which one I would sit on top of the other so that it looks 3D. But I'm quite pleased with him. He does need a wash and he does need a press. And there is also this horrible rust mark at the bottom from where my needle was sat in it for 10 years. But he's done. And yeah, I really enjoyed working on him. I've already prepped the next one. So let me show you the next one. So I'm using Sweet. I can't remember what this, I think this is just not Cheer Bear. I can't remember what this one is actually called. So yes, this one has a rainbow on his belly. And you can see that I have not done an awful lot. This was where it was left in 2011. I had this mad crazy idea to join in a challenge where you start 15 cross stitch projects in 2011 and aim to finish them all in 2011. I think it's safe to say I didn't do any. I think I maybe have done 2, maybe 3. The rest you're all seeing now. So yeah, I've only done like his nose, the muzzle and the bottom of his chin basically. So that is next up to be worked on. That one also has a rust mark from the needle. Apparently I'm not very good at taking my needles out of fabric. But there we go. So that is the next one that I'm going to work on. And I now have 3. So that's 4. I think I have 2 more. So I think I have 6 in total. And then I want to try and put them all together in something. Whether that is like a quilt or just framed, I don't really know yet. We'll see. I'm just enjoying working on them. So it is a DMC kit from DMC World, and you can, it says you can find more fun at carebears.com. so that's care-bears.com. I don't know if the kits are still available. They're dated 2005. I do have, though, there are vintage, you can get vintage cross stitch books with the cousins and the friends, so Care Bear Friends and Care Bear Cousins. I do have one of those, so I might even have to do those as well. I'm not sure they're the same size though. I'll have to double check. So that was my first cross stitch finish. As I said, I finished it in, oh, I've written here 3 days, can't remember now. 3 or 4 days. Not long at all really. And I have 2 more cross stitch projects that are finished to show you. And I can't remember what order I did them in. Anyway, I'm going to show you this one first because it is quite an old whip. So again, I think this one might have been from 2011 as well. And it is a pattern by Sparkleys. I think the fabric is also from Sparkleys. It is hand dyed. I don't think the colours are really showing up though. It's more of a peachy colour. And this is black, so 310 DMC black cotton on 1/1. So 1 strand of thread over 1 square. And this is even weave. So it is 28 count. I believe it might even be, can't remember. It's 28 count. If this was stitched 2/2, it would be the same size as 14 count. So it'd be almost double, effectively double the size. And I think the reason I did 1/1 is because I wanted a challenge, as you do, and I wasn't sure it was going to fit on this fabric because I was too lazy to work it out. But I'm really pleased with it. I had completed, prior to this year, I'd already completed this wing and the middle, and I think I'd done a few bits up the top. So I've only really done this. And that took a few days as well. It didn't take very long at all. So it just meant that I needed good light because it is very tiny. I don't know if you can see how small that is. But yeah, that is called Tribal Butterfly, and it is a pattern by Sparkleys. The fabric is hand dyed. Not really much else to say about that, except I really enjoyed working on it, despite the fact it is tiny. And I kind of needed my glasses on sometimes to do it, but yeah. Cross stitch project number 2 finished for this month, and another one off of my really long list of languishing whips, which are practically considered UFOs because they are unfinished objects until I pick them back up. And we were looking at lists this morning, and from my list I'd written 14 cross stitch projects that I knew of or that I could remember the names for, like just off the top of my head, that weren't complete at the start of this year. I don't think there's many left. So from that list I have 5 left that I know, that I can remember. I do know there are more, but at the moment those are effectively on my whip list. The others, excuse me, the others are UFOs because I haven't looked at them. So they may end up on this list before the end of the year because I may have pulled them out into circulation. Otherwise, they are staying in the basket where they belong at the moment, and they will end up on my list for next year. So my aim is to basically, I'm just working through projects that really should have been finished years and years ago. And it's not like they're difficult projects either. A lot of them are like just whole stitches, whole crosses. They're not fractionals or anything odd stitches. And some of them even use variegated thread, so I don't even have to worry about colours. Yet I have not worked on them. So I am slowly but surely working through my very long list of UFOs and turning them into whips and even finishes, FOs. Okay, the next piece and the last of my cross stitching pieces for this month, because I finished 3, was a new kit that I bought last year during lockdown, and it's the same style as the Mr. and Mrs. I did in 2019 when I got married. I don't know if you've seen that though. Anyway, this is from Stitchspiration, and it is all one colour thread. The fabric has been painted effectively by the lovely lady who runs Stitchspiration. She hand paints all of her fabrics and designs all of her own patterns. So it says makers gonna make, which I thought was quite apt considering all I have wanted to do is just make stuff and not actually do any adulting. The Mr. and Mrs. one didn't take me very long to do. I think that took maybe a week once I was sort of in the process of doing it. This one probably took me 4 days. Not very long at all. What I've been doing is when I start a whip, I write a start date for when I started it, and then I write a finish date from when I finished it. And it's a nice way of me keeping track of how I'm using my time and whether projects are taking more or less time than they should really take or was intended. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I don't know how I'm going to frame it though. Technically it is square because the painting is square, but the fabric is rectangular. And I'm actually tempted to stretch it on a canvas. I think that would be quite cool. I've not done that yet with my cross stitch, so that would be interesting to do. But yeah, it is really easy to do. It is all one colour, so just all 310 DMC threads, all in solid blocks. This is 2 threads over 2. So I've bought the 28 count even weave, so effectively it works up to 14 count. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. It's so simple but so effective, and that's what I really like about the Stitchspiration kits. She also has some Christmas decorations and things like that, so that you can do. And there's also things like wooden tags with the holes already punched into them, so that you can work on a different medium. And I have worked on a wooden tag before, so I might have to get some of those for Christmas because they're really cool. But yeah, another FO. So I've done another bit of hand sewing, not cross stitch this time, but I was gifted this little kit from Claire of Beautiful Things to make a little panda key ring, or like a decoration. And the only thing he doesn't have at the moment is eyes, because I need to find some fabric glue. But I have a little panda. He's so cute. It was really easy to work up. The nose is meant to be a felt piece, but I couldn't find it in the packet, and then I found it after I'd finished it in the bottom of the box, because there's a plastic packet inside which holds all the bits. So his googly eyes are still in there as well. Yeah, he came out really well. The felt is quite plasticky, and I think that's because it's been laser cut, but it's also quite thin. Yeah, other than the ears is really thick felt. Can you see that? Whereas the white is quite thin. So the black for his eyes and the pink for his cheeks were also quite thin. I found it a little bit fiddly with the cheeks because they are so small, and you only put 3 or 4 stitches in to hold them in place. But yeah, I also embroidered a nose because I couldn't find the nose piece. But I'm really happy with him. I believe he could have probably had maybe a bit more stuff in, but I think I used everything that was in the packet. Yeah. So, but he's a nice little quick make. He's perfect for kids to try their hand at sewing, because the holes around the edges are actually already punched. You only need to really stitch into the eye pads and the cheeks and the nose pad. There are holes in the big bits of felt for his ears, which correspond with the holes in the big white sections as well, and you would simply just stitch into the holes. You don't need to actually pierce the fabric. But yeah, he was really quick to work up. I think he did him in the afternoon, not very long at all. I did spend quite a long time looking for the nose piece, but oh well, I quite like his little triangle nose. So that is my little panda. So this is a Trim It pattern kit by Groves, and they do all different ones. So there's a couple more on the back. One is a sloth and one is a Union Jack flag, but they do quite a few different ones, so it's nice to have a go at those, especially kids, because they are really easy to do. And they have a plastic needle as well as a metal needle in them. So the pink one is the plastic needle, and you're meant to use that to go in through the big holes. And there is a green piece of felt which the metal needle sits in, so everything is nice and safe in there. Now I just need to find somewhere to put him. Okay, moving on to crochet. So as I've mentioned at the beginning, I started and finished the Carousel baby blanket, which is a pattern from West Yorkshire Spinners, using West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. It is the Luxury Bo Peep DK. Bo Peep Luxury DK. And almost every row is a different colour, so you change every row. And I think it's in sections like 4 rows of the same pattern, so you get to learn the pattern. I ran out of yarn. In fact, I will find the off balls that I had left over. Right, so out of I think 7 colours, I have none left of the blue, which I think was Raindrop. I have none left of the sort of minty turquoisey colour, which was Seahorse. But I have a tiny bit of the others left over still. So, and they're so small, I can't even hold on to them. That's it. That's all I have left over. 5 teeny tiny balls of yarn. So I should have had 1 more row of the red, and I should have had 1 more row of the pink, as well as 1 more row of the purple. But I think there should have been 1 more row of each of them. Now I think it's because when I got towards the end, I had more stitches than I should have had. So this is the start. Then the middle, and the end. I mean, it's a really nice, I do really like it. My issue is that I clearly must have added some stitches at the end of rows somewhere, and therefore it got wider. I tried to block it, but I couldn't block it as aggressively as I thought I could, purely on the basis that one end was going to be tighter than the other, so I had to shrink the wider edge somehow. But yeah, it's quite, I mean, it's wide as well. That's width and that's length. So the reason I wanted to do this blanket is because in one of the podcasts for the Yarn Dispensary, which is a yarn shop in Faversham, not necessarily local to me, but Linda was working on this blanket pattern, and they had the kit in store. So if you bought the yarn, so you bought all 7 balls, you got the pattern for free. So that's what I did. And we were going to do like a little mini make along with a few of us so that we could order it together. But timings just didn't work out, and then I forgot. Because that's me. And yeah, then because we had the summer, I just figured I will start it, see how far I get, and I just couldn't put it down. I just kept going and going and going. Every time I did a row, I was like, oh, I want to do the next row. I want to do the next row. And even though I had to change every row was a different colour, I didn't care. It worked up so quickly that it didn't matter. And I think I wove all the ends in one day, which I believe is on one of my summer vlogs. And then added the border on top. And it wasn't until I got almost to the end of the border that I ran out with a seahorse for the first row of border. So I had to break into a ball that I already had to finish that off, mainly because I'd added a row of seahorse that I didn't need. That should have been a different colour, and I didn't have any other colours to do it from the 7 balls, so I was out by, I think, 6 stitches, something like that. So I already had a ball of seahorse from the first Crochet Society box, because I only used the grey for the patterns in that box, and I had to add in like this much. So yeah, that was it's kind of annoying, but I only really had myself to blame because I'd obviously gone wrong somewhere and made it wider, and therefore run out of yarn for some of the bits. So that was that. And at the same time, I then added the raindrops of the blue to go all the way around, and I did the same thing for both rounds. Once I got to the end, I realised I didn't have enough, so I ripped the whole row back to the corner and then redid it, and still had not enough stitches. But with the raindrop, I think I was out by 2. So I had to kind of finagle it in a way that I used the tail end of where I started, so the tail I had left over from starting, to finish the last 2 stitches, and then try and tie the yarns together so they weren't going to undo. So yeah. Ooh, why am I so tired? Anyway, it's a really lovely pattern. It's super easy once you get going. I just would say keep an eye on your stitch count. There was a couple of times where I was like, my stitch count is right for the previous row, but I seem to be out on the next row. It didn't, the pattern wasn't working out. and I couldn't work out why, so I had to kind of like fudge it. But yes, that is a baby blanket, so that is going off to my friend. She is due in a little over a month, so that is going to go to her. She doesn't know it's for her yet, but it's so squishy. It's really nice. So this is done with the Luxury DK, the baby bow peep. I can't remember. Luxury Baby DK, which is a bow peep by West Yorkshire Spinners. It is 50-50, so it is 50% nylon and 52% 52% wool, Falkland wool, and the rest is nylon. So nice and squishy. I have blocked it, or attempted to get it square. But yeah, that's one of my only crochet finish for this month. I have a couple of whips though, so let's move on to whips. Right, so whip number 1 is a ripple blanket. Just flipping my notes over. It is a ripple blanket. The pattern is from Attic 24 and is on her blog, so it's a free pattern, and it's a 2-row repeat at the start, and then it's literally 1 row backwards and forwards. It is so easy that I was able to do it whilst meeting friends at a local knitter natter. Yeah, I took it everywhere. If you've seen the vlogs from the summer, you'll notice that I was winding balls of yarn at the hospital with my nan. I was winding balls of yarn everywhere. Anyway, what I have used is the mini skein club that I've been getting from Vicky Brown Designs. So I don't have the latest one to show you for August because it's in this blanket. I have literally used every single bit of yarn except for the bits that tie the yarn skeins together, because I want to try and make tassels or pom-poms or something with them to maybe add on to the one end or 2 ends. Anyway, that means there are 15 months of yarn in this blanket, because I started collecting June last year. So we've just had August and we're now into September, so I'm waiting for September to come. And I wanted to finish on August, but I ran out of yarn with 30 stitches to go. So I am hoping that once September's arrives, I can add in, I would try and add in all 5 of the minis and end with a on the end of a row. But I don't know. So if you've watched this podcast before, you would have seen these minis each month. It is folded because it is too big for me to hold up on camera, and this is for me. So June starts here with the green. It moves into blue, into purple, into pink, into a peachy colour, then yellow, green. We've got turquoise and teal, into a bluey purpley colour. Then we go into sort of coral and pink, through orange, through yellow, back through green. Then we've got like an ocean blue, minty blue. Then there's like a grey, which is a very pale purple. Then dark purple, then pinky purple, back into a peachy orange, back into yellow. So I've finished on what is effectively like a sunshine yellow. Let's fold it again so you can just see. That's it quartered. So it's big enough to cover me, which is what I wanted. But I still need to put in 5 more mini skeins, which won't take me long. It'll take me an afternoon or maybe a couple of hours in the evening. It doesn't take long to do, which I think is why it has progressed so quickly. At first I was doing maybe 1 set of 5 minis a day, and then I started doing 2 a day, and finally put in the last 2 about a week ago, maybe a bit more than that. And yeah, so it's nice and squishy. It is merino, superwash merino DK from Vicky Brown Designs in the mini Skein Club ombre set, and it's just so pretty. Let a little hug to her wrap up in. So yeah, so as I've said, the pattern is by Lucy at Attic 24 on her blog. It's so happy. It makes me really happy. So yeah, my concern with it is how much it cost. I'm not going to tell you how much it costs. If you want to know, go and have a look at how much the mini Skein Club actually is. And I order the 10 gram minis. So it's quite an expensive blanket for me, but it is for me. It's effectively now an heirloom blanket, unless I decide to use the yarn or something else later. And I think the whole reason I was determined to just magic knot them, which is like a surgeon knot. So I knotted each of the 5 minis together, made a ball. So I had number 5 in the middle and worked 4, 3, 2, 1 to the outside, so I could work from the outside of the ball. And I just knotted them all together. So none of the ends are woven in, but I don't care. And it means that if I get really fed up with it, or I find something that I really want to put these in instead, then I can literally work a new project from this and just keep working from it. I don't need to cut it up. I don't need to untie anything. I can just work as it is and basically unraveling this as I make something else. So that's like a last case scenario if I feel like I really don't like it. But that's not going to happen. So this is 650 grams. No, it's not. It's 700 grams now. Anyway, it's a lot of minis. It's a lot of grams. It is quite weighty, but not uncomfortable weighty. So anyway, I love this blanket. I love it. What I have been doing is I have been going to the local yarn shop, which is the Little Yarn Hut or All Tangled Up. Don't know why there's 2 names for it. Anyway, I've been going on Wednesdays over the summer for Knit and Natter, and I have been working on this blanket whilst I've been there, so they've seen it grow each week, where I've had to add new mini skeins in, so that's been fun. So they've been able to see this grow, and if you've been watching the vlogs, then you'll have seen it grow there too. But yeah, rainbow ripple blanket. So it's not finished. There are 5 more minis that are going to have to go into it. Hopefully I can end on a solid row and not half a row. There is 1 more whip that I need to show you. No, 2 more whips. 1 more crochet whip. Now I don't know how I'm going to get this out because I am doing a Grafgan, and it is for my son. It is a blanket. I'm doing C2C, and at the moment I currently have 5 balls of yarn attached to it. Yeah, I'll pop a picture up of where it currently is, and I will still try and get it out of the bag. So I'm currently only using red and black yarn, but I have 4 balls of black attached to it and 1 ball of red, which I had to untangle yesterday. Can we see? It's the wrong way up. That way up. So it's going to be a Game Boy. And it's going to have Charizard in the main screen of the Game Boy. So I don't know if it's it should cover him. It doesn't seem very wide though. There's only like 5 more squares going on the end this way. So, I mean, it is blanket size. I just thought it was going to be a bit bigger. I think I'm over halfway through one ball of red. All the black yarn is still, there's the red. I've got currently 4 balls of black Deramore's anti-pilling DK attached to it, and 1 ball of red Starcraft DK attached to it. I've got to the point where I now need to add another ball because I need to add another colour, which is great. So that is my plan today, to get the next ball attached to it at least. Yeah, so that I can then continue with it. And I've had to obviously buy some more yarn for it because I only had the black. Had the black in my stash, and I have white in my stash, but it doesn't really need a lot of white. And I've acquired the grey. Or did I have the grey and I borrowed the black? I can't remember. Either way, I've borrowed at least 4 balls of yarn from Emma, from my best friend Emma, so that I can do it. It doesn't need all of it, and it's certainly not going to need the 7 balls of red that I thought it was going to need. I think because the pattern is based on Red Heart Super Saver yarn, which is American, and we don't have that here. I thought our closest was Karen pound cakes, which I believe are more of an Aran weight. So it's not quite the right yarn, but it will do. So yes, that is what I'm working on. It's meant to be a Christmas present. We'll see. I think I'm almost at the next corner, so that I can start decreasing on one side. So I think there's only maybe less than 10 more rows before I'm halfway, possibly. But in about 10 rows, I'm then going to have to start adding more colours. So we shall see. What is quite nice though is I've got the big button at the bottom, so once that's done I can cut that yarn off because that is a separate ball, and then there's the bar in the middle, which again is a different ball. So once that's done I can cut that off and then use those to help do the pixels of the Pokemon at the top. So we shall see. Where did I get the pattern from? I cannot remember. Does it tell me on the pattern? Nope. I got it on Etsy, and I will put the link down below for you. So that's been worked up in DK yarn. I am using a 4mm hook for that. I am using my 4mm tulip hook, which is also the same hook I used for my ripple blanket. I like to use the same hook. I need to buy another one, I think, because yeah. Oh, I did buy a Knit Pro one. I went out last Monday, and well, this Monday. I went out on Monday this week. I went bank holiday. No, I didn't. My brain is mush. Last week, I went out to Barleylands to meet up with my husband, who was there with a friend. Went to the framer so that I could get a quote for the big cats that I did, because I need it framed for my dad. And whilst I was there, I took my crochet but didn't have a hook, so I went and bought a new 4mm hook, and I bought a Knit Pro one. Haven't used it yet, still in the packet. So I'll let you know how I get on with that when I use it. I'm gonna have to put it in one of these projects though. I've got a few more projects I want to cast on, or want to start or hook on. Anyway, one more whip to show you, and then we're going into acquisitions. This last whip is the Strawberry Lemonade Shawl from Gemma of the Midnight Diary. It is part of the Cozy Box, which was June's Cozy Box. And she's just finished finished up the pattern for it, but I've only finished the first part. I am using Roxanne, which is a 4-ply yarn from Truly Hooked. It's got these lovely tones of reds. There's some like very pale pinks in there as well, and some little splashes of black, which I thought would be great to show like the strawberry pattern in the shawl. So at the moment I am working on the smallest pair of 3.75 needles that I have, because it's the only pair I have, which is circular. So this is a 40 centimeter circular from Pony, which is not very big at all. And I have managed to do my first section of lace, which I was tempted to pull back because I can't really see the pattern in it, and realised I was doing my yarn overs wrong. But you can see it on the screen. So I think once it's blocked, it should be alright. They've talked me out of pulling it back and starting again. I have done the garter section, which includes some an increase at each end. And look, you can see where I did my yarn overs properly compared to where I didn't. So I am going to need to block it. But there we go. Anyway, I can't really do much more because I don't have any needle space. I want to do the next lace section, but I thought I would film this podcast first. I want to do the next lace section this afternoon. I think I can get it on now. But Gemma has now finished the pattern, so she's cast her one off, and she has kindly offered to send me her needles so that I can get on with it, whilst I try and buy myself my own. Because when I bought the crochet hook, I should have bought the needles as well and just didn't think about it because I was so caught up on the fact that I needed to work on that blanket that I needed a 4mm hook. I didn't think, oh, actually I do need a pair of needles as well. But there we go. So that is my strawberry lemonade shawl. Not an awful lot of progress, but for me as a newbie knitter, I'm not really a knitter, that's quite a lot of work for me, and it's a lot of concentration. But the ladies on the coffee morning last week were really helpful, and they helped me. So thank you. I have got a stitch marker from Woolly Wee, a little heart, just to mark the front of the shawl. And I have been using a row counter. I have no idea where. Oh, this is a higher row counter, and it's a panda. So when I click, it changes the number. And then if I want to change it back, I just turn the dials on the side and put it back to 0. So that's its eyes. There's a little hole here which I think is to put like a cord through so that I can hang it around my neck or tie it to something. So he's been really helpful to keep track of my my rows. And this is living in my Animal Crossing inspired bells bag, which the tutorial is on the channel for you if you want to go and have a look at that. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I didn't think I would enjoy knitting that much, but I think because I'm kind of getting it right and I am seeing progress, that really helps. And everyone is so lovely at coffee morning and at Knit and Natter that I know, I think the majority of them have either done it or are working on it, so it's nice to have that support as well. So it's currently living in here. But yeah, so that's it. That's finishes and whips. Let's put the pattern back in the bag. What I have also done is finally finish the pattern for my first crochet design, which I can't show you until the end of December. Well, no, I can show you, I think in December I can show you. it is for the next cozy box, or for one of the next cozy boxes from Gemma of the Midnight Diary. So she is dyeing the yarn. I have done the crochet pattern. She is making, designing the knitting pattern, and so it is still a secret. I have done one sample now in Gemma's yarn to check that a pattern is correct. I have done one sample in James C. Brett Marble Chunky, but I've had to use a different size hook. I'm not really sure why, but they are both different size hooks. So when the pattern is finally released, I am looking to put a list of alternative yarns. So if you wanted to use stash yarn, then you can use that to make the pattern as well. But obviously with different yarn, might need a different hook size to get the right gauge and to get the right size. So I'm hoping I'm going to have all that information ready. I've also picked up a ball of Starcraft Chunky and a ball of King Cole Timeless Chunky to see how they look in the same pattern. Just so there are options, but the idea is that you're supposed to use the yarn from the cozy box, and I think I'm going to end up using the yarn from the cozy box anyway. We shall see. But yeah, so that is coming in the next few months or so. So, acquisitions then. I've already mentioned that I had to buy yarn for the blanket for Joey. So I bought the 7 balls of red Starcraft Special DK in lipstick. So I have 7 of those. Really don't think it's going to need 7 though. I'm going to end up having to make another one, aren't I? So I've got loads of lipstick yarn. And then I also got the colours for the character as well. So the grey is, I think, the one I've either borrowed or the one from my stash, which is Deramore's. I've got 2 different oranges. So if you're a Pokemon fan, you might be able to guess which Pokemon I'm doing. I have 2 different oranges. They are tomato and spice. I also have a yellow for his belly, which is called citron. And then I have 2 different blues for his wings. So I have a petrol and Cornish blue for the wings. And then I need a little bit of white for his claws. So it doesn't require a whole ball of each colour. But I figured if I've got the colours already, apologies for the rustling. If I've got all the colours, I'm going to have yarn left over. I know that much. I can make a matching cushion using the same chart and the same yarn to go with it. So that is the plan. I'm going to make a cushion of just the Pokemon itself in the screen to go with it in the same style. So still C2C. And the other thing that I got, so this is all from the little yarn hut, so all tangled up. Other than the Deramore's, obviously, that's been in my stash, in our stashes for a little while. Me and Emma have got mystery boxes last year, and it's still from that box. So there's quite a lot of yarn here. And I picked up this pattern as well. So a couple of months ago, I showed you some Yummy yarn, which is by King Cole, and didn't have the pattern. Jo didn't have the pattern when she still had the shop. So they've now restocked the patterns, and I want to make a little hippo with my Yummy yarn. So I've got a couple of different colours. So that's going to be really cute to work up. And it says they only need 1 ball for each animal. So there's a hippo, a giraffe, and an elephant. And they are just too cute. So I'm hoping that I can... In terms of my knitting, it's getting better. So hopefully I'll be able to make a little cuddly toy at some point as well. Other than that, when I was at Barleylands, there was a book sale in the Craft Arena, which is a craft shop. So I picked up 200 crochet stitches, because if I'm going to design more crochet patterns, I need to know different stitches. So it's just different ways of putting stitches together to create different patterns. So that's going to be a lifesaver when it comes to working up new stuff. I also picked up some of the 20 to crochet books I think the first one I picked up was this one, Tiny Toys to Crochet. So these should all be £5 a book, and there was a discount, there was a sale on, so I think it was like 20% off of all books in the Search Press sale. So I got this one, and it has all of these cuties on it. They're just so sweet. I do like the dinosaur and squirrel. I also picked up crocheted baby shoes, because as we've already discussed, I have a lot of yarn and it needs to be used up. So I'm thinking of making some little baby shoes and see how I get on with that. I've already told you that I've got friends who are having babies soon. I've got friends who have already had babies, so they may end up with some as well. And then some more on the back. And then the last one I got was Crocheted Purses, which is an Anna Nikoporovich book. And I just thought it's just a different way of making a nice little clasp bag. And then you've got the watermelon on the back as well. So yeah, when I found out how much I was saving, I was like, well, I might as well get another book. So I did. So I have 4 books. So that was a really nice surprise, actually, to find there was an offer on. I have received the latest issue of Love Embroidery, and this tiger is incredible. Look at him. He's all hand embroidered. Is he hand embroidered? He might be machine embroidered. I don't care. He's cool. I like him. But it comes with Mindful Mandala templates this month. So I'm actually really tempted to use these. I'm thinking that if I'm going to try and copy them, like photocopy them, so that I could use them in lessons at school, so the kids can transfer them onto fabric and then practice different stitches in them. I think it'd be a really good learning exercise for them, so I'm going to see if I can do that. But I just thought they were really cool. And see if I can find the page, all the different mandala designs. There's also a little slough on a pencil case. It's so cute. So all the templates are in the back of the magazine, and you just photocopy them or trace them onto your stabilizing fabric. So that's the one that's on the packaging, and then there's like there's a couple more in here that show you how to use them. But I just thought that was it's a nice issue. I haven't really done anything from previous issues. I started an embroidery and haven't finished it. But I just thought it was a nice one to show you this time. I have also picked up Crochet Now. I quite like the jumper on here. But it also came with a crochet hook and a little like case to put them in. And look at this little thing. They're so cute. I like the blanket too. So there's quite a nice few projects in there. The Bagpuss sweater is just adorable. And I reckon you could probably upsize that as well to make an adult's version, which is nice. And then the last one I got is Simply Crochet, because I am collecting the parts for the crochet cowl. So this is part 4. I think there's one more part to come, so there's 5 parts. But there's like pizza and chips and popcorn. There's all different food inspired bits in this one, which I thought was just really fun. And the booklet that comes with it is 50 granny squares and motifs, and they're all, I think they're all work up the same size, so you could just make loads of them and then stitch them all together to make a big blanket. So that's the front cover, and that's the back, so they're all different. And I just thought that was a really nice way of using scrap yarn as well to make all the little granny squares. So that's my little hoard for August, which has been good. So I think that is everything to show you today. So we've discussed the Biscornualong, my little make-along. If you want to come and join me with that, I may have rambled somewhat at the beginning about it. Yeah, so I've mentioned that I finished my squirrel project, my secret squirrel project. I finished the pattern. I finished 2 examples now, so 2 samples of it. I've just noticed that I have got 2 more bags of yarn in front of me that I haven't shown you yet. Hold that thought. We have the Perf Collab Club yarn for August. Was by Henny Penny Makes. And it took me a little while to do the reel for this one because I kept forgetting. So we have, as always, we get a patch which is printed by Eris Apple over on Instagram. So that is going to go onto my bag as well. I'm keeping them all in the bag at the moment until I decide what I'm going to do with them all. But I got one of each of her yarn bases. So I have the DK. So these are all called Soul Love. I have the DK. Just look at all of those colours. It just reminds me of summer. It's just so lovely. So I have the DK. I have the standard sock weight. And finally I have the Surya Alpaca, which always looks really murky on the screen, but I can assure you that there are some really lovely colours in here. It feels so soft. And I think once it's worked up, once the fibres are sort of separated from each other, the colours will show better. And they won't look as murky, but I love it. I haven't used mohair before. I've started collecting the mohair now just to see what I can do with them. So those are the free skeins from Perf Collab Club yarn for August. So Henny Penny Makes. The next one is Gemma of the Midnight Diary, who is painting Mnemonic. No, what is it called? Pointless Mnemonic. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. It might be. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. It's kind of like a rainbow Gemma's one, but not a rainbow. So that's going to be really interesting to see. And it's all hand painted as well. So each skein is done individually. Sometimes you can dye yarn in pans, so they're all next to each other and you just dye them all together at the same time. But when you hand paint something, you are painting one at a time. So it's taken her a little bit longer, but they're going to be amazing when they're done. And because it's one of the last, it is the last thing that Gemma is going to be dyeing before her little one is born. So rather than just buy the DK, which is what I've bought for all of them so I can put them all together, I bought 2 of the sock and 2 of the DK so that I can use them together in something at a later date if I really want to, and it means that they last a little bit longer as well. The last thing I have to show you then is from Castle View Yarns. I think she had Crinkle. She had a bit of a sale on, so I picked up a skein of yarn. Now originally, this was my original plan for the Strawberry Lemonade shawl, but I wanted to immediately cast on and this hadn't arrived at the time, so I balled up the other one, or caked up the other one. This is Poison Apple. It is a really luscious red and it is sparkly. Can you see the sparkle? Just the hints of sparkle stellina in there. So it is superwash merino, nylon and gold stellina. It's 4-ply, 100 grams, 400 meters. It's just so pretty. So yeah, so I got that one. And because I've got all the others, I got the last mini skeins for the Friends Club. No, it's not the last one. The last one is Chandler. But this one is August. So this is Rachel. So we have You Fell Asleep. You Fell Asleep. Rachel's Trifle. I love that episode. I love the fact that Joey just goes and eats them all. Greens Don't Quit. Rachel is a green. Copacabana. I'm not sure what that one is. I can't remember that one, but I'll have to check. And It's a Metaphor Daddy. I don't really know that one either. But I'm assuming it's an episode where her dad's there. Can't remember. It's been a long time. I do have all of them. I have watched all of them. I'm going to have to rewatch them, aren't I? So I have the next next 5 20-gram minis. Which are these. So I'm going to add those to the other ones so that they are all together. And also the other ones are in a big plastic bag, whereas these ones are wrapped in tissue. So that'll keep them nice and clean as well. And yeah, now that's everything from this month. Obviously, I also got the latest Crochet Society box, which is that one. No, it's not that one. That one arrived late. That one did turn up at the beginning of August, sort of. The next one did arrive about a week ago. So I got 2 in 1 month, which is fun. So we have the Biscornualong running until the end of the year. I've mentioned that I finished the squirrel project. I want to try and put a few more bits into the web shop because I've got a lot of stock that needs home. In September, I've got a taster evening, like what did we call it? Speed crafting. So it's kind of like speed dating, but with crafts. So each table has a different craft set up, and you can go around and try the different ones for a small fee. That is at the Craft Shed in Basildon. So that is this week, the 9th. So that'll be fun. I'm going to have like a small setup of some of the stock that I have, like products to offer. Yeah. Plans for September. So I am working on the strawberry lemonade. I would like to get that finished in September. I'm not sure if it will or not. I'm going to finish off the ripple blanket as well because I'm waiting on September's yarn, so that will be done. And I want to make some more progress on the C2C blanket for Joey too for his Christmas present. So that is pretty much my plans. If anything else gets added to that, then it gets added to that. But at the moment, those are my main 3. Because one of them I know I can definitely finish. And the other 2 are kind of like a work in progress. So that's okay. I will leave it there, I think. So hopefully you've enjoyed seeing what I've got up to this episode this month. All the details will be down below for you. I don't think there's anything else I need to tell you. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Hopefully you can join in with the make along as well over on Instagram. And I'm sure I can sort out some prizes too. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you all again next month. Take care. Bye.